everyone. This is Greg Aden with Aden Leadership, coming to you live from Denver, a beautiful fall morning, or I guess afternoon now. And I have the pleasure of introducing the world to Kate Neligan. And she has a variety of things she does and a variety of titles that she's held in the past 4 years. 4 years. We'll ask her to share with that in a minute. But hello, Kate. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I've been looking forward to this. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you did some time, so to speak, in California before you came here, but give us the quick journey as to how you ended up in Longmont.
Yeah. So my story is Los Angeles to Longmont, or Hollywood to horses, but essentially I was on the East Coast, which is my roots, Jersey and my roots, and then moved to Los Angeles to work for the movie studios. Did that for a while. I was in LA for 13 years, and then I've been in Longmont for about 4.5 now, and was really called to be more with nature, with land, and I do equine partnered life and business coaching.
Equine Partnered Life Coaching. All right, tell us. Not all of us knows what equine even is, but tell us, how did you get into horses coming from Hollywood? And let's give you some cred here. First of all, you've been working with large companies in your past: iTunes, Xbox, Sony PlayStation, which my son is all over that, Amazon. Big names. And here you are working with yourself and the partners, but you've decided to partner with horses.
Yes.
Tell us why, please.
Yeah. So I, was always very driven, and I loved marketing, which I did for several years, and was working inside the movie studio system, and really started to have an awakening where I realized like my ego was not really what I wanted driving me in my life.
Amen.
I got my master's in spiritual psychology, and that really gets you in touch with a service mindset and loyalty to your soul. And for me, when I was a kid, I loved animals and I loved horses. I rode most of my life. I rode and competed in college. And I got lucky to, when I graduated, come out and find this incredible horse who really just kind of changed my life. And a mentor, human mentor at the time, who was working with addicts in recovery and rehab in Malibu, California. And I started to become a mentee and realize that transformation was happening in 2 years that took in 2 hours that took 2 years in my master's program. And I said, what's happening here in these 2 hours? And so I decided to study the way of the horse and their way of being, and realize that could really help us with our leadership and our emotional intelligence.
You said a couple of key words that I listened to, and you had an awakening. Love to talk to you more about that. And you said you didn't want your ego to be what drove you. And let's start with the awakening first. What really happened, and what was it that was inside you at that time?
Yeah, I think there was always like a perfectionism and like a drive, a type A, a hustle. And then I would reach a level of achievement. Like my goal was to be VP at 33. I did it at 31. And then the what's
Yay.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I'm
Yes.
super grateful for all of like the achievement junkie that's inside of me,
Yeah.
because it does keep me motivated. And it was also like, it came with a deep unfulfillment where I was like, there's always this what's next. There's always this element of it's not enough. Right. And so, and my TEDX talk is actually on that, like finding the sweet spot of enoughness and when we move out of perfectionism. But ultimately, I had many moments of awakening, but one in particular where I was selling like horror movies on the phone to iTunes, and I was like, it's not that bad, right? And I lifted above myself and was like, what are you doing with your life? It is really bad what you're selling. Like, it's really like the darkest of the dark. And then I would go after work to Agape and, pray and meditate on unconditional love. And I was really incongruent, right? Like I had that moment where I went, what am I here and how do I want to spend my time on earth? And it's certainly not selling horror. That's for sure. It really was very much about love. And I had to wake up to what was really in my heart to do. And luckily, like the horses guided me to that place. And I took a little detour. I created a conscious media channel because I thought, well, I can help change entertainment, right, from this dark space to more light and more positivity and more inspiration. And then I love doing that, but really like the horses were like, no, like we want to work one-on-one in deeper ways and groups,
Yeah.
create change that way.
Yeah. What I heard you say too was perhaps from perfect to purpose.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
love that.
raise your hand, listeners, if you are perfect, and you might be for a moment,
Right.
but no one can sustain that. And frankly, I don't think anyone cares that you're perfect. And I don't mean you, Kate. I mean
No, I
us.
know. It's
My kids.
boring.
It is. It's boring, and
It's super boring.
it's lonely at the top, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. We have similar pasts, and I relate very well to what you said. And then tell me, how did you decide that you were going to set ego aside, and when did you really face your ego and beyond perfectionism? When did you decide that your ego wasn't what was really driving you?
Yeah, that actually happened in my master's program and a practicum. You're in the desert, Palm Springs for 5 days without a phone, you're not really allowed off the property. And you have to face like all parts of yourself. So I got there, and on the first night I started crying, and it took like 3 days to come out of those tears and all of just like unwinding all of the stuff that was stuck in my cells and my energy, and just really deep healing work. And I thought I was going to die there, but really what I did have is I had what I'd call an ego death, which is the
Mhm.
element of like fully surrendering like the ways we think we are, who we are, and what we should be doing, and what we just all of these masks and ways of being that are guarding, right, and protective. And I had to shed quite a bit and surrender quite a lot. And I won't go into all the nitty gritty
No.
of what it looks like, but an ego death is pretty powerful. And when we come out of it, I actually felt like something was leaving me, and I was becoming a different version of myself, like the true essence of who I am. And I lived in bliss for a couple of weeks afterwards, and have really done my best to like know that that's actually my true north, and that
Yeah.
how to get back to it if I need to. Right.
Beautiful. I would invite anybody that hasn't killed their ego yet to do so. And it may not take 5 days in Palm Springs. By the way, I spent 4 years in Palm Springs, but it did nothing but feed my ego. That's a whole nother podcast. But I hear you, and I just want to know that just from one professional that helps others to another professional who helps others, I really admire that in you, Kate.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Really. Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard, but it was worth it.
Absolutely. I mean, again, when you look back, and you're much younger than I am, but as you continue to grow and mature and work with the even more amazing people, and obviously your whole future is ahead of you, you will look back and realize that every single thing that has happened to you and you allowed to happen to you, you created it. So that if we look at, we can be a victim or we can be an owner. And I'm looking at a woman that has totally become an owner and left whatever could have been holding her back beyond you and or behind you. And again, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
And I invite everyone to listen to what Kate's saying and do what you can to let that ego go, because it won't serve you. It's all about you. And last I looked, and by the way, you said you had this, what you were working towards had a service mindset. And I can't say enough. And I believe servant leadership, again, not faith-based, but if you want to go back to one of the greatest leaders that ever led was Jesus. And if you want to call that faith-based, okay. If that's too corny for you, then let's just go to Robert Greenleaf in the 70s. And he basically said very simply, servant leadership is to serve another and then lead them. And whether you have dogs or cats or kids or grandmothers and grandpas, it's the way people are at their best. So tell us about what you're doing today and your why behind horses, and then let's dig into what horses have shown you, and what have you experienced, Kate, when you're with a horse and another human being. What transpires?
Yeah, thank you. And I love that context for servant leadership. And I do feel in many ways that horses keep me out of my ego, right? They keep me out of that perfectionism, and they ask me to surrender agenda all the time. So what's funny is I had this first experience with this horse named Felici, which means happily. And she taught me to lead with love. I had another one of those breakdown to breakthrough moments with her where I was doing leadership exercise on the ground and I couldn't get it. And I had all this like, but I've known horses my whole life and I should be able to do this. And just, I really kind of like crumbled down to the ground in this arena and was like, I can't do it. Like, I really am bad at leadership. And I just literally heard, it was like this moment where I felt like I heard her say, lead with love. And I'm like, what? Did you just say that? And she turned around and walked to me across the arena. And I'm like, okay. And it was truly this energy of like, how do we stay grounded in our bodies first and foremost? Because horses live there. They live in this present moment body awareness, which helps us navigate the world, right? And stay safe and stay aware, but also from the heart space, because horses' hearts are 5 times the size of ours. So that electromagnetic field is incredibly powerful, which is why people will sometimes cry just looking at them or being with them. So for me, they like keep me really humble. They keep me really authentic. They keep me really present, which I've always really struggled with. Like I've always had like, just, we all have monkey minds, right? But I'm always thinking and creating and being in that space that sometimes I like forget that I have, like I'm on earth, right? And so they keep me really grounded and present. And so they do the same for my clients and who I work with in sessions. They help people with these inner qualities that really then help them have like outer lives that they love.
Yeah. Well, the inner qualities of a great leader, you mentioned 3 fantastic traits: humble, which is next door to compassionate, which
Yes.
is surrounded by empathy. And I don't know a great leader who doesn't have that quality. And then you said authentic. It's funny how unreal, and I don't mean in a great way, but how unreal our world has become.
Yeah.
We actually believe that this is the predictor of our greatness, this an iPhone or some tablet that says you have so many likes. So authenticity is huge for me. And then present. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at someone they think they're listening to me and they're not. And, yet call me cocky, call me stupid, but I'll just stop and I'll say, hey, Steve, are you there? Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm coaching you and you're not present.
Right. You're paying for this.
Yeah. And that's why I just stop and ask,
Yeah.
Are you there? Yeah, I'm here. Okay. And I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe it's my material, but you see people all over the world and they're together, but they're not together because they're not present. And I ask them through my eyes, or do you want to be together? I don't know. It's funny, but those are the traits I look for in a great leader: humility, authenticity, and being present. So if you were riding up an elevator and there's a 12-year-old standing next to you and they see your business card attached to your backpack, or I was going to say briefcase, we don't have those anymore, and they looked up at you and said, why do you do what you do? What would you tell this 12-year-old?
Oh, I mean, my 12-year-old would meet that 12-year-old from a place of like, because I love horses, right? Like for me, I used to define success from that ego paradigm of like what the world would appreciate me for, right? Like title and
Yeah.
status, all of that. And now, like to me, success is doing what you love, right? Doing what you love well, I do. Doing what you love, because if you love it, people feel that. People are inspired by that. You're a way shower, right? It's the Marianne Williamson quote where you finally are not as afraid of your light as you think you are, right? And you shine it. And so my 12-year-old would be like, because I love horses, right? That's my personal why.
Yeah.
Global why is because I want to live on a planet where people do love each other more, where people are kinder to each other, where people are more present. And I get emotional just thinking about it, but it's like, there's that element of like, how can we treat each other better, right?
Yeah.
And how can we treat animals better? Because I see a lot, quite frankly, of abuse of animals, and horses take a lot. And
Yeah.
And I just want to live on a planet where we treat them better, where the wild horses can be wild. We see our animals as equals, and there isn't this like speciesism. And so, that's my bigger why. And a lot of it is for the horses, because I can be a voice for them and I can help them. And I'm just one of many, right? At work. But if I can help more people see animals differently, which they do, like when my clients come, they like really see animals in a different light, then
Sure.
I've made an impact, which is something I want to do. So.
Right. Well, I put a heart in the middle of a circle when I talk to a client or talk with a client, and I ask them, do you see you in there? Whether it's a heart or a head or a stick figure, I don't care. You are the center of your universe to begin with. But how you show up, how we show up every single day when we put our feet on the ground and we start to be who we want to be, we impact. You said it, not me. We impact people, we inspire people, or we allow people to see our true self. And if we're, leading with love, and I love it, because what else is there?
Right.
Lead with intimidation. Okay, that's not leadership. That's management or supervisor at best. And then be a way shower. I love that phrase. And because it's usually show me the way, and just be, now you give that show me the way person a noun, right? It's a way shower. Love it. So inside that circle is you, Kate. And how do you decide every day that you're actually going to live your purpose and be the woman you say you're being? And how do we find you? And how do you work with clients? There's 3 or 4 questions there. Take your time.
Yeah, thank you. I think for me, it's like the way it comes through me is like I created a conscious media channel until I realized that I myself was a channel. Like I am here as a channel, as a bridge for people, right? In this human animal bond space, like I am a bridge. And for me, it comes through as writing, speaking. So thank you for helping me fulfill my purpose in speaking right now. Writing, speaking, and what I'll call coaching, right? Which is a general term for those of us who are teachers and healers and guides and, catalysts and all of that. So it's a broad term. I don't even love the term coach, but that's how it comes through for me. So that's when I know I'm being a purpose, when I'm moving my information that I'm getting, connecting to the horses and or spirit through me in those ways. And yeah, people can, so the way I work is I work with people one-on-one or in groups. And sometimes it's, I'll do an intuition development workshop and I'm leading it with the horses, or people come to me and they ask me to put together a workshop, or we're doing a team building or leadership training and they're learning that way. But ultimately, I like getting people outside in nature, on the ground, doing different exercises that aren't riding based, so they can be eye to eye with a horse and they can their ways of being. So, and I travel. I'm currently based in Longmont, Colorado, but I travel to different ranches as well. And I've learned how to do it virtually because during pandemic, we all had to learn how to do a lot of stuff through Zoom. So.
Wow. Yeah, I can't imagine. You are a bridge. I love that. And again, we are conduits as coaches and consultants. We are just a way of helping someone get to where they are and where they say they want to be. And I focus a lot, Kate, in my practice on what is it that you want? And I just listen. I listen to a human being tell me what they believe is important to them. Then I say, all right, what are you willing to do to get there? And that doesn't mean break rules or fasting or anything. It just means, what are you willing to do? And are you willing to do the work? And then a colleague of mine a few years ago said, let's add a third question: when are you going to get started? Because we can talk all day about what you want and what you're willing to do, but when are you going to get started? And then coaching, I'm deep into building trust in culture, and trust in a relationship and culture. What is it? What does it really mean? And been reading a lot. And I would tell you that coaching comes up all the time as to one of the most important things leaders can do with their people, their followers, parents, as kids, with kids. It's, how do you coach? How do you mentor? And tell me a little bit about your view of how valuable coaching is, not just because you and I are coaches, but coaching in general. How do you see the world being better if some of us took ownership of who we are and showed up as a coach?
I love that question. I was working in vet medicine for a while, and one of the things I really believed that they all needed was the staff needed to learn coaching skills, like truly how to coach employees, right, through different things. So a lot of it is through listening, right? USM, my master's program, has like the first skill is heart-centered listening. We talked before about, are you present? Are you listening? So that's a huge skill. But I believe that coaching skills, like the actual ability to reflect feelings, listen deeply, have accountability, what you're saying is the when, all of these pieces are going to infiltrate corporate America as people become more emotionally intelligent and realize that it is like the crux of success. Like, this is why people hire coaches, because they're like, either I'm stuck or I hit a wall or I can't do it on my own. I need support and I need to be, I want to be successful. Right. And that's why people do it. They hire coaches for that exact reason. And I'm a huge fan of success. Like, that's my thing in the Enneagram. Like, if you want success, let's do it. Like it's fun, because the journey to what you want is really where all the learning and the growth come from. And that's our evolution. That's our awakening. And I think that's why we're here. So
The last part you said is just so many antidotes to, like, the journey is the way. When we start doing what we say we want to do, we're on purpose, and we leave some of the baggage behind, the things that aren't serving us, whether it's weight or alcohol or drugs or bad relationship. And again, you can't carry all that crap up a mountain. I'm sure you've done a 14 or two in your day, especially living with some of them right in your backyard. And that if the less crap you have in your backpack, the easier it is to climb. And I use that analogy all the time. And here's the success. And I would ask anyone listening, what does success look like to you? And if it's full of dollar signs and fame and fortune and a title, good luck. Because I believe you're listening to two relatively intelligent human beings tell you that that's not where success lives. Success lives in our heart, in our soul. And when you radiate potential for other people. And I believe successful coaches get that. I don't know anybody that has truly arrived without some mentoring or coaching or great parenting. And I look at leadership as an add-on to parenting. But as I mentioned to you off air, I've learned more about leadership by coaching and being a parent with my two kids than I have any credential I've acquired along the way. So I'm humbled by the two little people who will ultimately define who I was. Not any client, not any title, no bank account. That'll never end up on my tombstone. But what Brooks and Sam think about me, I'm sure that'll be etched in there somewhere.
I love it.
So I want to just say on air that I believe you, Kate, have decided to join us for the Leadership Development Series in February. Is it still a go?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm excited.
Okay. Well, there's your commitment. Love it.
Yeah.
So we'll use part of this podcast to promote you and certainly what you're doing with horses. But as you thought about participating in the Leadership Development Series, what were some of the things that you thought about and why join us? Why join us in the journey of helping thousands of people around the world get it?
Yeah. I mean, I think leadership is one of the most important conversations we could be having, because we do every morning we lead. There's self-leadership, conscious choices all day long. And then there's the importance of, like, when you are given the responsibility of leading other humans, right? As a dad, as a mom, for me, with animals or with people, right? As a coach or in any job that we have, right? Any career path that we have, like it's a beautiful responsibility, but it's one that we don't really want to go into unconsciously, right? Or with a lot of ego, because we can actually do quite a bit of damage. I've seen it. I've seen really bad leadership. I wanted to fix it inside of the movie studio system and went, okay, I guess I'll do it outside, right? And I'll do it with horses because they have a way of getting into people's hearts even faster than I do. So I just really, I feel like it's an important conversation. I think there's a lot of different facets, and you have so many great speakers already that I've seen, having been watched, one of the most recent ones. And I just think it's inspiring. And I took so many notes, and I think there's a lot for people to learn, but there's a lot for people to be. And I think that's the paradigm shift right now. Is it's not what you're doing, it's how you're being while you're doing it. And this kind of conference can help shift that for you.
Thank you, Kate. Look forward to having you with us. Like you said, on a great lineup of speakers. And with that, I'll just say thank you. I mean, just to recap, you've been to the top. You've got your title before you expected it. And again, I said congratulations, not in a cynical way, but I'm glad that you had a goal and you achieved it. But you also then challenge yourself to have a much bigger life, soul, heart goal, and you've accomplished that too. And here's to you and horses. I want to maybe bring a few people up to Longmont and experience it. I've done it once, but I was actually more of an observer. So I'd like to chime in as well. Maybe I bring my two boys up. My one of them is struggling with autism as we speak, and it's a life issue. But I believe you might be able to help him in ways no one else has been able to. And by the way, that just came to me
Yeah.
as we speak. So in closing, Kate, how would you like to end your part of this conversation?
Yeah, thank you. Honestly, just like honoring you, Greg, because I feel like you're pulling together some of the best people on the planet, having some of the most important conversations that need to happen, and doing the best you can as a dad. So that's how I want to end.
Well, I told you off air, I like what the 12-year-old asked, because I believe when we're so curious, it's more than just a behavior. It's become an incredible skill to ask another human being what it is they really want to know from this person, and then just shut up and listen and be present. And it took me a while, but I finally got the importance of it, and I'm trying to teach that to my kids and certainly with my clients. And leadership is a topic that gets talked about all the time, and I don't want to skip over what you said. Leadership doesn't mean that you're a great leader. Leadership means you have an opportunity to lead. And if you do it in a servant way, you take care of them, then you lead them. But there's a lot of bad leaders out there too. And by the way, I wouldn't even call them a leader. I'd call them a manager or a poor supervisor, as I stated earlier. But Kate Neligan, thank you very much for being with us today. Again, this is Greg Aiden with Aiden Leadership, another servant leadership podcast. Go out and be kind, be curious, be humble, be authentic, and be present. And thanks for you and your time and your beautiful smile, Kate. Really appreciate having you on.
Thank you so much, Greg. I appreciate it.